आवाज आ रही है? मिश्रा जी, आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
आ रही है सर।
सर आ रही। गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
हाँ, तो कार्यक्रम शुरू किया जाए मिश्रा जी।
सर अभी तो 23 है ना, थोड़ा सा बढ़ाइएगा ना, क्या पार्टिसिपेंट बढ़ाएगा ना, उतना में सुन लीजिएगा। कोई हिला देंगे। हाँ? अच्छा।
मिश्रा जी,
हाँ
मिश्रा
सर,
जी, आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ सर, आ रही।
हाँ, तो स्टार्ट कीजिए सर।
आ रही।
सर ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, आप स्टार्ट कीजिए।
सर्जन कर लिया ना। ठीक है सर, शुरू करते हैं। नमस्कार, गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल. I am extremely happy that Sharia College Sharia is going to organize a webinar. We are here in the web platform. As you know that Department of Commerce and IPSC of Sharia College Sharia jointly has trial and honest effort. This is an initiative to discuss on research methodology, and on behalf of college family, I welcome you all to this web platform. As you know that this is the land of Lord Parasnath. As you know that Parasnath is the 23rd Tirthankar of Jain, and in this land, I welcome you. On this land, I welcome you to all to this particular webinar. I am privileged and I feel honored to introduce the topic, that is research methodology. This is the topic of the webinar. As we are mostly teachers, and some teachers from different states, they have joined in this webinar, and we are the teachers, we are the lifelong learners, we are associated with college teaching, we are associated with college education, university education. This is the part of higher education, and nowadays we mostly listen that research, innovation, these are the part of higher education. And as you know that National Policy on Education 2020, it highlights innovation, it highlights research. That's why we must develop a research culture in our own institutions. In our respective institutions, we must develop the research culture. We should learn, we should try to cultivate more and more research atmosphere. As because you know that we have to compete with the global, we have to compete with the global standard. That's why we must be dynamic, we must be progressive, we must be lifelong learners. It is the time to change ourselves. It is the time that we should adapt with the changing situations, changing time. And whenever we talk about research, we are, as we all know that research is nothing, research is very close to the progress. Research is very close to knowledge. As man is a social animal, man is also a curious animal. Man always wants to know. Man is curious by nature. We talk about knowledge. We talk about knowledge as the power, and knowledge is enriched by research. In this era of knowledge explosion, knowledge is power. Every second, new ideas are coming, new findings are coming, new research, new methodology, new innovation that is coming to our era. So, as we know that the secret of all the development, that development may be scientific development, that development may be maybe cultural development, political development, educational development, whatever development that we find in our society, the reason is, the root cause is research. Where there is research, there is development. Where there is research, there is progress. So research and progress, they are synonymous. They are very close to each other. Research is not, roughly you can say that research is an unending source for knowledge. Research is nothing, this is the search that is again and again. Research is nothing, this is the endless quest for knowledge. It is nothing, this is a scientific process, this is a purposeful process, this is an honest endeavor, this is an initiative that we apply to develop the knowledge. This is applied to inculcate the knowledge. So this is one part of our job. Anyway, one thing that I want to make it clear before you, that research may be of different types. It may be applied research, it may be basic research, it may be action research. So there are different, mainly 3 types of research. And now we are here to share, to learn, to hear our eminent speakers on what are the different research methodologies, so that we can learn, we can implement all these ideas in our teaching. Our teaching may be better, and the students will have a maximum learning. Again, whenever we talk about welcoming the particular eminent speaker of this session, I am privileged to welcome Professor Dr. Ramesh Saran sir. He is not a personality, he is an institution. He is very closely associated with teaching, research, administration, economic policy, and many more. He has more than 40 years of teaching experience. He is not a personality, he is an institution. He's a source of inspiration, and we are here to learn. We are here to listen many things from him. Sorry, and Dr. Ramesh Saran, he is the ex Vice Chancellor of Binoy Vishwavidyalaya, Binoy University, Hazaribagh, and on behalf of Saria College Saria, I welcome sir, and I am extremely grateful that sir has received our invitation, and he is ready to share his ideas. And you know that sir is one of the eminent economists of Jharkhand. Whenever we talk about economics, research, teaching in Jharkhand, sir's name that comes on the top. Anyway, we are here, we are very interested, we are eager to listen to him. And again, I welcome sir on behalf of Saria College Saria. Sir, please, you may continue, sir. I invite you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Good morning, everybody.
प्रणाम सर.
मेरी आवाज आ रही है ना? Am I audible?
आ रही है सर.
Yes, sir. Yes.
आ रही है. Very good. First of all, I'm very happy, and it's really my pleasure that such a talk has been arranged. And I think it's important that we talk about it. It's important. Of course, this time may not be very sufficient for this, but still I'll give you some thoughts and some of my experiences, what you should do, what we can do together as a researcher. What are the precautions you can take? What are the areas where you can work? What are the new areas that are coming up? What are the changes in methods and methodologies that have come up? So it's basically, if you look at research, it's a human inquisitiveness. We want to learn knowledge. And it's from centuries, from ancient times, that we have tried to understand many phenomena, many things as we evolved. So it's quite natural. It's quite natural that these researchers have been there and the world has grown, as rightly said a few minutes ago. Because we kept on conducting researches. We kept on going for innovations. Whether it was our ancient India when our rishis, munis, whether the philosophers like Aristotle and Plato, everywhere in the world, people were talking about this. People were trying to understand the phenomenon. Whether this phenomenon is what we call it, physical phenomenon, natural phenomenon, or a social phenomenon. And social phenomenon. The world has changed, and the world has changed many times. We are in 21st century, and this is as we call, it's a age of knowledge. We are talking about knowledge economy, basically. And the research has changed, but the basic philosophy remains the same. And I think what I suggest is that let's try to be very clear about it. When we look at the methodologies or the methods, we have to make a distinction. And all of you, we should be able to learn about what is known as ontological processes and the theory of epistemology, the theory of generation of knowledge. That I think is one of the weakest points we have when we learn research methods, that we hardly sometimes ignore such things. We are aware, but we ignore. Why we are conducting a type of methods, why you are using certain methodologies. We are not talking about the logic. What is the logic behind it? We are trying to search truth. What is truth? How do we get to truth? How do we say that it is true? How? Because the truths, what is visible may not be true. First thing. What is, for example, if you take the railway track, anybody sees that track, you can find that they look like meeting each other, but in reality, they are parallel. So whatever your senses can see, they may not be true. So you have to verify it in a different way. Similarly, you can see it in a very different way. The famous story of the elephant and how people, whatever they touched, they felt that the elephant was like that. So the research, the first thing is that we have to look at it in a totality. We have to look all the aspects of it, and only then we can conclude. So how do we come to the truth? How do we come to the truth in research is very important. And so we have our methodologies. Of course, in research, we'll have inductive or deductive methods that we have. From the facts, we go to the theorization, and from theorization, we verify it by facts. The facts and the phenomenon, and what we assume that we can assume it, we can observe it. That is what we assume. And as I said, everything is not visible, and what is visible may not be true. You say the black swan. Can there be a black swan? You cannot say that swans are white unless and until you are able to find out that the evidence that there are no black swans on the earth, which you cannot do because you are conducting researches in a very narrow phenomenon, in a very social context or a physical and a natural context. You are not doing a global context. So it's very difficult to get answers to that. So when we are trying to get researches, when we try to do, as I said, that the researchers have been important. The philosophy of researchers and the evolution of subjects, if you look at them, they have changed over time. How the philosophers changed. If you look at the earlier researches, the beginning of it, how did you explain phenomenon? How our philosophers were trying to explain phenomenon? What type of phenomenon? Whether the earth moves around the sun or sun moves around the earth. This is one. Why the stars come? Why there are eclipses? Why the leaf is green? So many things. What type of social phenomena occur? And people have been very inquisitive. And sometimes when you say like people like Galileo, when he was trying to break away from it by evidences, people were after his life. So sometimes these things have also happened. When you break the traditions, these things happen. So the theology, the philosophy, the logic, and the observation. This has been primarily the way in which the researchers have gone since ancient times, since people started thinking, since people were speculating. Now, when it came, a new subjects started coming up. If you look at the history of subjects, economics, when did it come? 1776 and afterwards. Otherwise, it was the political economy. Political science came, psychology came, sociology came. All the social sciences started evoluting. Even in the physical sciences, you have many sciences that came up later on, whether it was physics or it was chemistry or botany or geology or biosciences or any physical science or the medical sciences, for example. Everything started moving out. So we have an evolution of subjects as the need had been. And if you look at the researchers, who was financing the researchers, who was conducting the researchers is very important. I think this is not the time to explain everything, the evolution of it. But what we find out is that as we start with the researchers, we started working in silos. अलग-अलग खंडों में बात करने लगे हम लोग. Economics, sociology, political science, history, humanities, Hindi, English, literature, everything had a department and people are not talking to each other. That was the phenomenon that developed of a specialization. Now, what are the changes we have now? And these are the changes that we have to understand, we have to develop, we have to understand the whole logic of it. So what are the changes that have happened? First, in silos. And when you look at the silos, economists were not talking to sociologists, sociologists were not talking to political scientists. Everything developed, every department developed in isolation. Later on, it was realized, and now it has been realized, that the things cannot be seen in isolation. Whether it is management, any other subject, it cannot be seen in isolation. This is one change that we have, and what we call it an interdisciplinary or a multidisciplinary approach to researchers. This is the one phenomenon that has come, especially in 21st century. Later on, Gulbenkian Commission talked about it. They said, wither social sciences, wither it. Because if you look at social sciences and if you look at their conclusions, they are sometimes very much contextual in nature. So if they are contextual, can you universalize those decisions? Can you universalize the conclusions? Can you do it? What we feel, we have a theory, what is known as positivism, which is known as a scientific theory, is also a scientific, it is a systematic inquiry into a phenomenon. It can be a social phenomenon or a natural phenomenon. It's a systematic inquiry. It's not haphazard. So when we look at systematic inquiry, it has to be in steps. So when we look at changes that has happened, now people are thinking that let there be a multidisciplinarity approach and let us learn from each other. That is very important. That is very important, that we should start learning from each other. So there is a change now, and change is the multidisciplinarity. And what is that change? We look at a phenomenon from a different angles and then try to build up a conclusion or a discussion. So this is one area. What is the other area? What is the other area that has developed in 21st century particularly? This is the use of ICT, the information and communication technologies. Now the data analysis and data analytics have become very, very important. First thing, they have become easier and more complicated. This is the second change that has happened. And I'm talking about 21st century. I have skipped the whole of, say, middle of the 20th century. I'm not talking about that. The evolution of the theories, the evolution of everything here. But what I'm talking about is learning from each other, learning from each discipline. Economics has learned a lot from physics. Economics has learned, I'm a man of economics and I'm a student of economics. Economics has learned a lot from psychology. Economics have learned a lot from sociology, from anthropology. And anthropology has to learn from economics. History has to learn from economics. Economics has to learn from history. So it's the multidisciplinarity. So even in physics, if you look at physics, economics has learned from physics. The methods which we use, the quantitative techniques which we use, we have borrowed many things from physics. And there are a number of good economists who belong to physics or engineering. Similarly, if you look at physics has also earned from economics, the theorization and the process of theorization. We have learned from that. So you can see that such things happen. You learn from each other. Medical sciences, for example, they have learned a lot from, we have to learn a lot from medical sciences, but medical sciences too have to learn from behavioral sciences, because seeking medical help, going for medical help is basically a behavioral part of it. It's a behavioral patterns. It's the behavior, human behavior in health. So they have to learn. We have to learn the methodologies as we learn. For example, cybernetics, socio-cybernetics emerged as a main theory, as an important theory when we're looking at systems. So when we are looking at systems, we cannot look things in isolation. That is what I wanted to say. So what has happened? We have to learn from each other. We have to learn from other sciences, other methods, and other methodology. And there cannot be a single methodology to get to the truths. This is the second part of it. The third, as I said earlier, third is basically what are the issues and why we do researches. This is the answer. Three things have to be answered. What are we trying to do in the research? Why we want to do? You must have a rational and a logic of it. How? The methods and the methodologies. So three phenomenon: what, how, why. And when we start with the beginning point, we start with these questions. Objective of research, it can be plain objective, very plain objective of getting your PhD degree. This can be very plain and a fairly legitimate because it requires in the career. Very legitimate. It can be solving a problem given by others. It can be because you think that you must do it and you have done it for a long time. You must do it. Many reasons why we people conduct researches. And when we do researches, we have to be very committed to it, because the first thing is that what of it is very important. If you are not clear about what, then you have a problem. And whenever I think I have seen many PhDs, I have seen, I was in academic council, I was in PG research council. We have seen many research proposals and they are defective. Most of them are defective. Why they are defective? I try to understand that. And they are defective because they are not systematic. You have to work as a system. You have to work in steps. You cannot work in silos. So when we are talking about the steps in researches, we have to think about what can be the steps. The beginning is, of course, you start with the topic. Then what do? You are trying to formulate certain research questions or hypotheses. This is what you try to do. Every research will have a research question. It can be multiple research questions, but these are the research questions you are trying to answer. So what we are talking about basically is the topic, selection of the topic which you want to do, the research questions or the hypothesis. How do you come to it? And what is the weakness which we have? I think we must be able to talk about the weaknesses. What is the weakness we are talking about? The weakness in the proposals are that we do not conduct a good literature review. This literature review is very, very critical. And when we plan a study, we ought to think about how we do a literature review. We have to do a very extensive literature review, which we sometimes skip. Literature review tells you what already has been done, what you are thinking, how other people have done it. And that gives you a direction to your thesis, to your study, to your research. If you don't do a good research, good literature review, then what happens? You may land up doing something which has already been done. A lot of extensive literature is there. You may be in trouble because of your methods which you adopt, because already people have indicated what are the methods that can be used. And also, when we are talking about all this, you can think of, so literature review is very, very critical. And I say, when I talk to my students, sometimes they get very irritated about it. I say that spend at least 1 year in literature review. The search has now become very difficult and also easier. How do you go about it? What you should do in literature review? And it's a review minded. It's not that if so-and-so said so-and-so. No, it's not that. You are trying to review what all has been written, critically reviewing it. So when we are locking time, critically reviewing it, you have to look at it. So I think that is very, very important for you to understand the literature review. You talk about the literature review, you do it, you conduct a literature review, extensive. Now Google search, Google Scholar, many search engines are there, you can help. Now what has happened in the research is very important to understand. The research is now moving from public domain to private domain. Now the researches are very much carried out in the laboratories of the multinational corporations. And when they invest in literature, when they invest in what you call it, your research, when they invest in such researches, then what happens? Whatever you get, whatever papers you get, you have to pay for it. How do we select it? So just read the abstract. Abstracts are free. From abstract, you try to find out which are the things, and InfluMNet and other facilities are available. There are online facilities which are available. Online journals are there. You can find it out. But what I say is that one of the defects is you're not searching literature properly, not reviewing it. So this is the second thing. Then what happens? Your research strategy and research design is not clear. And that's a very crucial thing. You are trying to answer certain questions, or you are trying to talk about certain hypotheses, but your research design to answer those questions are not very clear. So you should be very clear about your research design. Very, very clear about your research design. You should work on it. You should talk about it. You can discuss with your peer. You can discuss with your guide. You can discuss with anybody you want. There are online materials, but this is important. Once you have finished completed your good research design, then if it is an empirical study, you have to go for samples. And sampling has been one of the weakest links, which I find. Everybody says that I've conducted a random sample. What they mean is at random. You must be able to understand the universe that you have. How do you select a sample? What should be the size of the sample? Every time there is an error when you select a sample, error is there. So when there is an error, how do you select a sample is basically based on 2-3 parameters. Two or three parameters. One is basically the error that you want to accept. Second, error that is the population parameters. Second, it depends on the time you have, and it depends on the cost you have. What is the cost you are going to incur? So talking about the size of the sample is very important. Depends on the universe, the type of universe, what type of sampling you will have, how much time you have, and what is the amount of finance that you have. That will decide your sampling. Once you have a sampling, then you get data. And when you have data, you go for coding and other things. When you go for coding, you analyze the data. You have your pseudo tables, analyze the data, you get conclusions. You try to see whether whatever answers you have are getting from it. Sometimes you feel that you will get it and you don't get it. Sometimes you get what others have not got it. But one of the things is very, very important, and that I'd like to talk to you, is that you should be very clear whatever is reported, because this is evidence. We bring evidences. So even if it is contrary to what has been said, you must write. because every thesis has a limitation. Every research has a limitation. Every research is contextual in nature. And so this is very, very critical. The other issue I wanted to flag off, and then you get a conclusion, you should report it, you should be honest in reporting, you should be able to tell the limitations, you should be able to write all your limitations and difficulties that you have done so that the others know about it. Your research should be in such a way, you should write papers. It should be in such a way that it is in public domain. And the last one, that is the plagiarism. You should not copy. The ethics. And whenever you copy, you mention the sources. So this is very, very critical and very important for you. Understand the plagiarism, and I'll suggest that UGC has given a guideline. They came up with a 2018, read that. What is plagiarism? What is accepted plagiarism? Plagiarism is a very sad thing. You try to copy people, you try to copy yourself. There are many ways of plagiarism. So this plagiarism, there are softwares you can think about. And whenever we talk about all this, let's try to understand that newer techniques of researchers have come, newer tools have come. Try to understand those tools. What you do is with the tools. Try to understand the tools, but don't get overwhelmed by that. Try to understand these things will help you to do good researches. Every research is not final. Research is not final. So you have to learn and do a good research. That is what we can think of. Number of things you can do for a good research. Good research means good output, output that is verifiable, output that is evidence-based, output that you can think that you are talking about, output which is multidisciplinary. You have seen all the aspects of it. It depends on the methods and methodologies. So with this, I stop here. Thank you very much. If you have some issues and questions, you can ask me. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
थैंक यू सर, सो मैनी थैंक यू सर, आपने अपना बहुमूल्य समय दिया सर हमारे कॉलेज के लिए सर। प्रमोद जी, हमारी आवाज आ रही है आपको? प्रमोद जी
जा रही है?
हाँ, धन्यवाद ज्ञापन के लिए प्रमोद जी।
हेलो,
हाँ, धन्यवाद ज्ञापन के लिए आइए प्रमोद जी।
जी जी जी, धन्यवाद सर। आज के इस वेब संगोष्ठी में मुख्य वक्ता के रूप में उपस्थित प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर रमेश शरण सर, पूर्व कुलपति विनोबा भावे विश्वविद्यालय हजारीबाग सर का आज के वक्तव्य के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आभार। सर ने आज इस वेब संगोष्ठी के महत्वपूर्ण विषय शोध प्रविधि पर ज्ञानवर्धक वक्तव्य से हम सभी के ज्ञान में जो वृद्धि की है, उसके लिए सर को हृदय से धन्यवाद। सर ने आज की इस वक्तव्य में, आज की इस वेब संगोष्ठी में शोध की गुणवत्ता बढ़ाने हेतु, शोध हेतु महत्वपूर्ण बिंदुओं पर जो चर्चा की है, वह हम शोधार्थियों एवं शिक्षकों के लिए मील का पत्थर साबित होगा। सर ने आज के वक्तव्य में शोध परिकल्पना, शोध साहित्य की समीक्षा, शोध अभिकल्प की महत्वपूर्ण बिंदुओं पर जो चर्चा की है, वह आने वाले शोधार्थियों और अभी जो वर्तमान में जो शोधार्थी शोध कर रहे हैं, उन सबों के लिए एक सीख होगी जो अपने शोध की गुणवत्ता बढ़ा सकते हैं। और आज के इस वेब संगोष्ठी में उपस्थित दर्शक प्रतिभागी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। साथ ही आज के आयोजक सरिया कॉलेज सरिया के परिवार को भी हार्दिक आभार देना चाहता हूं, और खासकर मैं सरिया कॉलेज के प्राचार्य डॉक्टर संतोष कुमार लाल सर को दिल से आभार देना चाहता हूं, जिन्होंने यह कार्यक्रम को आयोजित किया और सफलतापूर्वक इस कार्यक्रम को मतलब अगले पड़ाव तक ले जाने में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई है। इस संगोष्ठी में उपस्थित विभिन्न विश्वविद्यालयों, विभिन्न राज्यों से उपस्थित शिक्षक, शोधार्थी को भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, जिन्होंने आज के इस कार्यक्रम को सफलतापूर्वक सुने और इस कार्यक्रम को सफल बनाया। इस कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित तमाम विद्वत्जनों, शोधार्थियों, विद्यार्थियों को मैं आभार देना चाहता हूं।
धन्यवाद प्रमोद जी। अगर किसी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को किन्हीं पार्टिसिपेंट्स को हमारे रिसोर्स पर्सन से अगर कोई प्रश्न पूछने हैं तो वो बेहिचक सर से प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं। अगर किन्हीं पार्टिसिपेंट्स को कोई प्रश्न पूछना हो तो वो कृपया प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं। Any query from anyone? No any query? So we conclude this first session. थैंक यू सर, आपने अपना बहुमूल्य समय दिया सर हमारे महाविद्यालय के लिए सर, और आपके द्वारा बताए गए रिसर्च एथिक्स, रिसर्च डिजाइन, रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस वगैरह के बारे में जो भी सर आपने नॉलेज दिए वो हमारे लिए बहुत बहुत यूजफुल रहेगा, और आने वाले युवा पीढ़ी के लिए जिन्हें रिसर्च करना है